All right, music fans, welcome back. Harmless Dave here again, talking real music in real time for a few real people out there just like you and just like me. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving. Mine was interesting. That's all I can say. Glad I'm back home. That's all I know. I'm really a homebody, and I like to spend time with my family at home on the holidays. In any event, Turkish delight, people. This is what you have for dessert. You have this huge meal, and you grab the Turkish delight. For those of you who are a little confused, this is the best melodic rock compilation album of 2022. Okay, I'm just putting it out there now. I don't know how I'm going to factor this in to my top 20 for the year, but it may be in there based on how amazing the material is. I tend to do, just individual artists, but this is a compilation of 15 amazing songs. Jeff Scott Soto is on this. Pretty cool, right? Ronnie Platt, Jerome Mazza, Billy Greer, and a long list of very talented people who are currently keeping melodic rock alive in the year 2022. This is courtesy of our friends over at Escape Music. If you look over my shoulder, you'll see the vinyl edition, which I did a little unboxing of a while back, just showing people the quality of the vinyl. It is spectacular. I'm not sure if there are vinyl copies available, but go to Escape. I think it's escape-music.com, and you can check out Turkish Delight and all of the amazing catalog that they have over there. They only put out super high quality music that would sound terrific on the radio today next to a band like Journey, right? So I have the Escape t-shirt on. Copyright infringement here? I don't know. I don't think so. It's merchandising. I don't know where I got this shirt, but I was like, hey, that's like one of my favorite albums, and the shirt is cool. What's not cool, though, is the stuff that's going on with this band. And over the holiday, I was getting rapid fire messages via Patreon and Facebook, personal messages, all kinds of things coming in regarding the end of Journey. Well, let's put it this way. This is the end of Journey as you know it, as we've known it for the past few years. But keep in mind, there have been a lot of personnel changes. Narada Michael Walden gets replaced by Dean Castronovo. Randy Jackson gets replaced by Todd Jensen, right? Technically, there was Marco Mendoza in there for a little while too. So yeah, this lineup has been changing, and I think it's going to change again. I don't think it's going to go away. There's a contract signed. There's a tour booked with Toto. So I don't know how this would be unbooked, how it would just stop. Neal Schon, I think, tweeted out something like, I'll be there, meaning, somebody asked him, hey, is the tour canceled? And Neal's like, no, I'll be there. So he has every intention of going forward. And I did a video about that. But how did this happen? Why did this all happen? Well, I think it goes back to 2017. And you could take sides in this. There are all kinds of sides to take. There's even a political side. Neal tweeted out a video, and I'm going to mention this. And the people who love Donald Trump, and I like most of you guys, I really do. I like the Trump people. I like the deplorables. I like what you guys are about. Sometimes, though, I think it borders on like a kind of a worship or an idol or something to that nature. And don't take this the wrong way, but I think you need to trust in ideas and a philosophy. And you may say, well, he's got all those things, but are people more attracted to him because he's like this bigger than life character, this P.T. Barnum type guy? Anyway, let's not, I can cover this, by the way, on my other channel, which I think I'm going to do that at some point today. That is the Radical Independent. You can link to this other channel through, the banner page of this particular channel that you're watching now. But here's what happened. So Trump announced his campaign, and there's footage out there which just, I guess, went viral or appeared somewhere, and Neal Schon retweeted it. And John's there playing keyboards, and I think his wife is there too, and she's singing, and everybody's singing "Don't Stop Believing," right? MTG is up there, if you know who she is. They're all singing the song during the campaign launch. And after what we went through in 2017 with Neal not liking the White House visit, right? And that's, to me, that was far more innocuous. And I would say this to Neal, that's not a big deal. They were invited to the White House. They went. You decided you didn't want to go, or you weren't invited. I'm thinking Neal's politics are maybe a little bit different than John, although Neal did do a benefit concert for Mitt Romney and his wife years ago. You can find the footage for that. And he justified it saying, yeah, the Romneys are pretty cool. You know, Obamas are cool. Romneys are cool. You know, for Neal, I think it was about doing the gig. You know, it wasn't about taking sides. Whereas clearly, and by the way, I'm not saying you can't have political views, or if you take a side, you're a bad person. I'm just saying this has been a bone of contention between these two men since 2017. So in a very high profile way, you know, this is a campaign launch, and the media didn't cover this all that much because they're trying to ignore Trump. They're trying to pretend that he's not there. They've got his tax records out there. They got, you know, all these things that are happening. And some people gravitate toward that because they think, okay, what are you trying to keep from me? Why can't I see this? Why can't I vote for this? Why can't I be a part of this? Now, I don't want to get into the politics too much. Like I say, I will go over on the other channel and really kind of sort of flesh out those ideas. But here, when it comes to Journey, I think the problem is bigger than politics, but I think that adds to it. I think you've got two different worldviews, maybe. Or I will say this, I think Neal Schon's worldview about politics is just very esoteric. That's not his concern. You know, he's made a lot of money in this, and his real concern is music. And then when you bring everything in, it becomes sort of cluttered and watered down. And, you know, like people can't stand Roger Waters because they attend a show and it's all politics. And if they're going there for the music is almost like secondary. So I think for Neal, his idea is to kind of keep the two things separate and to not endorse anyone or anything necessarily. But if I were to guess, yeah, I would say Neal is probably like, I don't know, he's probably a Democrat, or he's not registered to vote. That's what I would say. I don't think Neal Schon votes. Maybe he does. Maybe he does. And some people will say, well, that's stupid. He should vote. Really? You mean after the last election? Oh my gosh, people. See, this is where I could completely go off on voting and sort of being the black pill guy that I am now. I just don't think this is like rooting for a football team, and your team is awesome. You love your team, and your team loses. And the referee, you know, basically called every call the wrong way. But yet you go back to the next football game thinking that things are going to be different. You've got the same group of referees out there. Nobody's made any changes to it. People complain about it, but nothing happens to it. So yeah, I'm thinking that things are, I don't know about lost completely. I think you can make a difference in your local community, and I think that's really what you should focus on. So this national political event, hey, it's a big party. Hey, we're playing this music, and the keyboard player from the band is there. You got the keyboard player, you got the guitarist complaining about the keyboard player. That's part of this. This goes back to 2017. I'm thinking that Neal was looking for a way to just possibly blow things up where John doesn't want to be a part of it anymore. Like John will just say, you know what, this isn't worth it. Allegedly there was a gig yesterday, and I don't know if you saw the Jonas Brothers. They're just amazing. I was just, wow, look at those Jonas Brothers lip syncing. A band, they were big 15, 20 years ago for like 5 minutes. But yeah, they're playing the halftime show at the Cowboys game. And it was just sad because allegedly Journey could have played that gig from what I've heard. Now, you'd have to ask Neal Schon for sure so he can verify this information. But I have it on pretty good authority that this was an opportunity that was missed. Now, with that said, let me play devil's advocate for John. Look, you get to a certain age, this band is important. It's a great legacy. This is great music. I'm thinking he probably would like to wind things down, just like Steve Smith did, just like Ross Valerie did. Like, there comes a time in your life where, you put your church or your faith or what other activities. He's got a solo career. He's put out a lot of music in recent years, and he's really focused on that. And so, yeah, I mean, if I'm John, I'm thinking, you know what? I don't know if I want to be a road dog anymore. I'm not into all these hotel rooms and tired of being away from my family and so forth. And a lot of musicians, a lot of people, even, much younger, hate, running around and touring and doing all this stuff. Traveling is a pain in the butt. So I can see both sides of this issue. I can see one side that wants to keep going and wants to keep building this band and keeping the legacy going. And that's admirable. But I will say this, it's not as impactful as what happened 30 or 40 years ago. We'll say 40 years ago now, which is really sad. You go back to 1982, that was the prime, that was the greatest part of this band's history. And you can't go back to that. There's no going back. Steve Perry is not coming back to Journey. Throw him into the mix with the trademarks and all this. I've said in other videos, Steve Perry is at home just shaking his head going, wow. Wow. I mean, it's crazy. So he kind of looks like above the fray because he's got his trademark thing going. He's probably going to end up stopping the trademarks from going through, and that'll be his victory. And then we'll see what happens with this band. People have great lawyers on both sides. I don't know who's got the better lawyer, but there are good lawyers working for both sides. And if lawyers are taking these cases, then they think they can win them. That's why lawyers do this stuff. Or maybe they think, hey, these guys are good for the money. I can extract the money from them. And so even if I lose, I'm still going to get something. There's a retainer, there's all kinds of fees, court costs, and so forth. But it's a win-win because you get publicity. You could say, hey, I worked for Neal Schon trying to stop this credit card thing from happening, or to, get the books audited or opened up. So, and both sides have different arguments here. People say that Neal is spending too much money. Neal is saying, I didn't even have access to that money to spend. So which is it? How is this going to play itself out in court? Is this interesting? You bet it's interesting. This is a mini series. This is a made-for-TV Netflix mini series. This would be far better and far more entertaining than like The Dirt, the Motley Crue debauchery series, or the Tommy Lee story, or whatever, Pam and Tommy. Who cares? I want to know about Journey. This is really good stuff. Someday somebody will make the ultimate, movie or miniseries about this. Some other things going on in this that I think are relevant. You've got a 50-50 contract right now between Neal Schon and Jonathan Cain. You've got another contract, obviously, that is still honoring Steve Perry. That's not null and void. But as far as this new management company that was set up, this new LLC or whatever it's called, you'd have to be able to extract one of these two guys from that agreement in order for them to go away, which means that somebody would have to be bought out of that contract or willingly agree to leave and then maybe get, funds in perpetuity, much like what happened with Steve Perry. So could that be John's modus operandi? Could that be what he is kind of looking to do at this stage? Because I can't see, how can he and Neal stand on the same stage together again? It's just, if they do, it would be the biggest exercise in hypocrisy and, unless there's some kind of miraculous come to Jesus moment, pun intended, for both of these guys. Like they say, okay, wow, sorry, we didn't mean to air that out in public like that. I mean, Neal said some bad stuff, and then John comes back with malicious lies. So those are malicious lies, and that will set Neal into orbit, which it has. If you've seen what he's been doing over on Twitter, it's just a bleep show over there right now. And it's entertaining and it's good. Again, I always say this, it's good for my channel. People complain I talk about Journey too much, but now I have real stuff to talk about. I feel bad for Arnel and Dean Castronovo, who is one of the nicest people I've ever spoken to. Just a really nice guy. And from what I know about Arnel is he is just humble and decent. And I think he's probably thinking, you know what, if I'm going to bail, that wouldn't surprise me. I'm going to throw that into this video, that Arnel just says, you know what, I had a great run with this band. I lived the dream. I lived the musical dream. I'm playing a dive bar in the Philippines, singing Journey songs. And then I'm in Chile, in front of thousands, like 100,000. I don't know how many people were at that concert, tens of thousands anyway. And, running around the stage, being the lead singer for Journey and keeping the thing alive and, rebirthing that band again, much like Steve Augeri did, much like Jeff Scott Soto, who was the bridge between Augeri and Arnel. It just, it's been an interesting story. It hasn't been the kind of story, though, that the band had back in the late 70s into the 80s. It hasn't even compared to that. It's been interesting. It's given the band new life, but there are a group of fans out there that haven't really followed Journey in a long time because Steve Perry isn't in the band. And you can't top Steve Perry. There's just no way to do it. As much as some of what Perry has been up to lately to me is like, just keeping my name out there. I'll throw you guys a bone. Here's a Christmas song. I like Steve Perry a lot, even now. But what he did, back in the day, nobody can duplicate that. And talk to any singer who's trying to be Steve Perry, they'll tell you it's pretty much impossible. He's just that much better than everybody else was. So anyway, one last thing I wanted to cover here was the possibility of Greg Raleigh returning to Journey if this thing does go the way I think it's going to go. That is a very small possibility. It's not completely out of the question that Raleigh could or would come back. My guess is that Greg Raleigh, at his age again, doesn't want to be a road dog. I mean, that was his reason for leaving when the band was about to be the biggest thing in the world. He said, you know what? I'm out of here. I've had enough. And of course, that opens the door. And he recommended to everybody that they take John into the band. And his recommendation obviously proved to be a very good recommendation for, I don't know how many years, like 42 years. It worked out really well. It would be very interesting though for old time fans, who grew up in that infinity evolution time frame where you're hearing these two voices, and you'd have, obviously Greg and Arnell, or Greg maybe and Dean. That would be pretty cool. And nobody's going to sit here and say, yeah, I wouldn't want to see Greg Raleigh back in Journey. Take a poll. I bet you, based on some other personal things, maybe people have something against, John, or they just like that era where Greg was in the band. And that was a really cool time to be a Journey fan. The transition over to the Escape lineup and then going forward, that was something spectacular to watch. The Captured Live album, the couple of tracks they released, like Hopelessly in Love at the time, and you knew something big was happening with this band, that it was just going to go crazy. And then Escape drops and everything changes forever for this band. But I still think people would be really excited about Greg Raleigh coming back to Journey. So anyway, I don't know. People are asking me left and right. I don't think, I would say, if I'm to just give my blunt answer, I don't think Greg wants any part of this. I just don't. But nothing is impossible. And I don't know. I think it would have to be a pretty lucrative thing for Greg to come back to Journey at this stage. But having him out there would kind of give the band a little bit more credibility, because now you have two original members on stage again. You got Neal and you got Greg. Maybe Ross wants to come back. I don't know. I think that door closed, and that's the problem. All these doors are closing, and that includes John, I think. So Neal is going to be left up there. And yeah, he's the anchor. He's the original guy. He's the guitar legend. So he has all those things going for him. But it's hard to keep something going when you keep changing the personnel and people are like, okay, what band is this? But there are, and people hate this when I say this, there are a lot of casual fans out there that don't care. They do not care. And, people will say, well, Dave, it's just a tribute band. It's not even really, hey, if you have Neal Schon on stage, it's not yet a tribute band, because nobody plays guitar like that. So that's what he has going for this entire franchise or brand moving forward until he says, I don't want to do this anymore. But again, getting that contract situation figured out, say if they decide to settle out of court or something, yeah, the credit card thing is an issue. We'll settle it out of court. We'll give Neal a credit card, whatever it is that needs to be done. But then after that, I think there needs to be some kind of a, I don't know, amicable divorce instead of this crazy stuff we're seeing now. But because this is on that sort of real nasty trajectory right now, and social media lit up right now by Neal for the most part, and then John doing his thing at the campaign announcement for Trump, I think that was kind of an in-your-face thing, honestly. I mean, because he knew how much trouble that started in 2017 in a far less, in-your-face sort of way. And now that goes viral, and then people are like, whoa, here we go again. I mean, if none of this other stuff happened with the accusations, him going back to do that would probably have started a firestorm on its own. Some people are like, good, I'm glad he went. And those are the deplorable Trump fans. And I love you guys. You guys are awesome. I think we have to do better, though. I think that's where I'm coming from when it comes to politics. And you need to fix the system, before you can worry about who's going to be playing for your team. And I'm not into celebrity people running. I would rather have really strong, knowledgeable, constitutional, smaller government type people. But again, that would be a topic for my other channel. So yeah, super long-winded video here. I'm sorry, folks. Here's Turkish Delight. I promised, if I haven't been promoting this enough, I need to promote it more. This is the best melodic rock compilation album for the year 2020. A whole slew of melodic rock legends are on this album, and you can't go wrong. It'll make a great Christmas gift for somebody. Yeah, give them a physical album. You got the vinyl behind me here. The vinyl is beautiful and pristine and would look wonderful on any turntable. It would be just great Christmas decor for your house and your music collection. So anyway, folks, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Had a lot of new patrons join the channel. I'm having difficulty answering all of the messages over on Patreon. I went away for a few hours yesterday and I came back and I'm like, holy crap, Batman, so I'm going to try to keep up with everything. I think it'll get better, after the holidays over and people are back to work and doing their thing. But I appreciate everybody out there supporting the channel. And as always, I will see you soon.